the Brothers Ghastly, youngest brother, the coward. He is the baby of the family, the youngest of the 4 brothers. During life, he claimed to be an artist, but in reality, he leached off the efforts of his older brothers. He wasn't really talented in any way. He wasn't strong like the eldest, or smart like the second youngest. He didn't even have experience with the ethereal like the second eldest. He pretty much just ran from everything in life that was difficult. If it got too hard, then he ran away from it. It didn't help that 2 of his brothers, the warrior and the scholar, loved to bully him and boss him around when they were frustrated about their own lives. In fact, they did this no matter how things were going. It just got worse when they were actually upset about something. So, the youngest brother grew up meek, and the abuse made him spiteful. Being ignored gives one the opportunity to learn a lot of things without being noticed, like where the bodies are buried. And you learn how to get revenge without being caught. It only took a little tampering with the eldest brother's equipment to end his military career, which crippled him to the point where he could no longer physically abuse the youngest. All it took was a note or 2 to the right researchers, suggesting that a certain someone's dead-end research might be useful for their own goals. To have someone stand on your shoulders and then leave you behind, shredding your own dreams in the process. It dampened the smartest brother's fire for success and ensured he never mocked his youngest brother for being dim. The youngest brother thought that things would be better for him after ruining his brothers, that he could live safely, free from their abuse, that he could be free to look for something he could excel at without being constantly degraded for it. That was when the last brother approached him. All it took was a single sentence to ruin the youngest brother's life. "I know what you did." From that point, the youngest spent his life as the mystic's slave, doing every little random thing the man wanted for fear that he would tell the other brothers what he'd done. He just knew that if they found out, they would kill him. It was that fear that haunted him until he was old. It was that fear that forced him into performing the ritual with the rest of his brothers. It was that fear that led to his painful death, and that fear that brought him back. As a ghost, the coward resembled a young person who had been brutalized. Wounds decorated his whole body. His head looked like it had been crushed in a vice, and his neck looked as though it had been strangled to the thickness of a straw. The coward doesn't have a preferred target. There isn't a personality aspect that appeals to him in a host. In death, as in life, the coward is spiteful. He just wants to make people suffer, so he likes to target public events. Places like concerts, parties, and sporting events. Places where a lot of people gather to have a good time. He wants to do as much damage as possible. He is particularly vicious in places like birthday parties and weddings. What he does is take a random person in the crowd and possess them. Then he'll do his very best to cause a riot. His ability to radiate negative emotions such as fear, anxiety, and anger in large quantities whips the crowd into a frenzy. And that fury is focused on one target: the coward's host. When the crowd is affected by his emotions, they tend to go berserk and try to tear the host limb from limb. The host is aware of everything the coward is doing, but they are trapped in their body, able to experience the terror and pain, but unable to affect it. The poor victim is unable to do anything while their body is ripped to shreds by the frenzied crowd. The coward doesn't stop when his host is killed. Instead, he picks another victim and surges the crowd's emotions even higher, driving them to a fever pitch as victim after victim is torn apart. This happens over and over until most of the crowd are dead or have been driven insane by the effect of the unrelenting negative emotions influencing their every thought and action. It's a slaughter for the amusement of one small, petty man. Worse still, the coward doesn't feel any of his host's pain, only sadistic amusement at the despair as they are helplessly driven to their deaths. Something about the coward also triggers the hunt. a special event where the other three brothers stop what they're doing and hunt the fourth. Most of the time, the target of the hunt is the coward, and his behaviour deviates from his usual pattern. He still takes a host, but now he flees into crowded areas with a different purpose: to delay the other three from catching him. Something about the hunt actually terrifies the petty ghost, because the emotions he affects people with are different. Instead of the anger and fear that stirs the crowd into murderous action, he radiates emotions like a plea for help, to cause people to protect him from the monsters. Not that the brothers can actually hurt the coward. He's already dead, and when they catch him, all they can do is kill his current host, as well as anybody else who was emotionally manipulated into trying to protect the coward. Once released from the host's body at the point of death, the brothers beat the coward's ghost for a while, but all ghostly wounds fade in an instant. When the coward is a hunter, rare as that is, he acts as he normally does. Except instead of his host being the target, it's the host of the brother who is the focus of the hunt. He always knows whoever it is that his brothers are currently possessing, except the mystic, for various reasons. All those negative emotions focus the crowd towards a single target, turning it from a riot into a lynch mob. A mob of people who are apocalyptically angry at a stranger they have never met, but hate with all their guts. And when one falls, another will step up to become the leader of the mob, to push them further and further into destruction and anarchy. The chaos has caused fires and destroyed neighbourhoods, just so the coward has many chances to strike at his brothers. It's not even certain that the ghosts themselves can actually feel pain, but none of the brothers ever miss the ritual. The hunt occurs every 3 to 4 years. They all stop what they're doing and participate. Talking with the coward is pointless. All he ever does is give excuses for why he does the thing he does, why he is the way he is. He blames his brothers for each one of his shortcomings. And in the end, while this may be true to a degree, the coward refuses to see his roles in the deaths he has caused. Like the others, except the mystic, possession can be stopped if caught. Actually, the coward can be driven out of a host at any time. All it takes is a prayer and a handful of salt. The danger is that, once driven out of a host, it doesn't take the coward long to find another one nearby. Plus, anyone aiming to exorcise him risks being affected by the emotions the coward stirs up. They may even become the victim of possession themselves. The most obvious sign that the coward is possessing someone is the constant nervous twitching, and that the victim's eyes will turn a dull, piss-yellow colour. The coward can be restrained with insults carved into wooden planks and placed in a circle.